This may be the last time you ever see this room. It depends on whether I end up filming a second video this week. But moving day is 3 days from now, and if I turn this, you'll see that I've packed quite a bit already. And today was my last day at work. 1 week short of 5 years. Started that job in high school. It paid my way through my undergrad, and I am off to grad school, and I thought I would celebrate with some wine and do a tag video because I like to do tag videos when I have wine for some reason. But I was tagged a while back in Miranda Hayes' Cliché Tag, so I should have been more organized, but I've got my answers written out here. And over here I have the tag pulled up on my laptop. So she made this video all the way back on July 1st, and I believe I was actually tagged on July 1st, so a little bit of a long time coming. It is the end of summer. But let's do this. So, question 1, actions speak louder than words, a book that wasn't or couldn't be better than the movie. 2 books came to mind for this. The first one I thought of was Breakfast at Tiffany's. Breakfast at Tiffany's is a fine book. It's an interesting book, but I doubt I would have enjoyed it quite as much if I hadn't seen the movie adaptation from the 60s with Audrey Hepburn first. To me, Audrey Hepburn makes that movie. She makes that story. Then the second one that I thought of afterwards was Meet Me in St. Louis, which is a pretty decent musical, but the book was atrocious and I would not recommend reading it. Question 2, the grass is always greener on the other side, a rags to riches or riches to rags story. I had to think about this for a moment because there are obvious choices, but I wanted to choose something less obvious, so I went with Under the Ribs of Death by John Marlin. It is a Canlit classic, and it's kind of a rags to attempted riches story, if that makes sense. The main character is a young man who believes that by working hard and by showing loyalty to his boss that he will eventually make it rich and inherit the business. The boss has promised this to him, but as he finds out, businessmen are not always honest. Question 3, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. A parent-child relationship you loved. There are a lot of parent-child relationships that came to mind, but for me, the one I think I love the most, the Anne of Green Gables series. It is an adopted parent relationship, Anne, of course, and her adopted father figure of Matthew. Question 4, you can't judge a book by its cover, a great book that needs a better cover. I immediately thought of this particular edition of Hugh MacLennan's Voices in Time. There are better covers for this book, but a large print edition released in the 80s has this really horrific looking cover that doesn't really describe what goes on in the novel. We've got Hitler on here, which is relevant, but there are plenty of other cover images that would have better suited this novel. So, question 5. You can't please everyone, a book you hate/love that everyone loves/hates. I think I've talked about this one before, but Harper Lee's novel that came out last year, Ghost of the Watchman, everyone seems to hate that. I don't. I actually enjoyed it, and although many people had issue with the ending, it wasn't an ideal ending, but it did ring true to real life for me, and it brings up a lot of interesting implications, and I think there is value in that novel, so I enjoyed that one, despite what anyone else thinks. Question 6. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, a book you are a better person for having read. I can't pick just one particular book for this. Every book I read, of course, is going to have an influence on me of some sort. Whether it's good or bad, it's hard to tell, but I'm sure most of the books that I've read have made me a better person in some way, or else I would not be reading them. Question 7. Love is Blind, a book with a disabled character or actual blind love. Blind love. I immediately thought of a kind of obscure Canadian novel from the 60s. A French-Canadian author, Marie-Claire Blaise, wrote a little novel called Mad Shadows. It's more of a novella, really, and it's set in a sort of dreamy-like world, cut off from normal society. We have a young woman who doesn't interact with anyone outside her own family. She interacts only with her mother and with her self-obsessed brother, who everyone agrees is very pleasing to look at, and he has been brought up to be obsessed with his own image. He looks at his reflection constantly in mirrors, in pools of water, and she resents him because she is considered ugly. But then she meets a young man who is blind, and she tells him that she is very, very beautiful, and he believes her because he can't see her, and she basically deceives him into marrying her for her beauty. It has a very sad ending to it. Question 8. Ignorance is Bliss, a book you know is bad but don't want to admit it. If a book is bad, I will definitely admit it, even if I like the book. Meg by Steve Alton, for example, that is a bad book, but I did enjoy it, and I will admit it's bad, but I will also admit that I enjoyed it. Also, I read a lot of Harlequins in my teen years, and I will admit that those are bad, but I won't say that I didn't enjoy them. I won't say that I still don't enjoy a romance novel every now and then. Question 9. There is no time like the present. Your favorite contemporary book. This is too broad of a question for me to answer. I don't read a large amount of contemporary books, but I do read a number of contemporary books every year, and it's very difficult to choose one particular favorite book. But I have picked one of my favorites for this, and it is a book that came out last year. It is Birdie by Tracy Lindbergh. It was a 2016 selection for Canada Reads, and it is about an Indigenous woman struggling with depression and mental illness. Very good, very moving. You might cry if you try to read that. Question 10. Better Safe Than Sorry, a book you don't want to read in case it's bad, or vice versa. I avoid entire genres for this reason, which is probably doing a disservice to those genres, and I probably shouldn't write off entire genres based on my preconceptions, but I do, and I do tend to stick with what I know I like. So that is the Clichés Book Tag. I would tag some people, but I think this one has already made the rounds pretty much. I'm just going to sit here and enjoy my wine, and I'm going to sit and read a bit. I am currently working on One Way Street by Marianne Engel. This is one that I picked up 2 weeks ago at a used bookshop, and I do believe it is a romance set in Greece. My sister was curious as to what was on the cover, and I had to explain to her what it was.